Everyone. Gonna just give folks some time to join us live here on Facebook for our Advent Member Talk. So, for our member talk this week, we're mixing it up just a little bit. For folks who have been watching these member talks weekly, you know that this happens every Tuesday from 4:30 to 5 p.m. and each week features a different member on the topic of their choosing. And it gives us an opportunity to spotlight our members, to promote their businesses, to support them, which is so important to us. And it also gives members an opportunity to share their skills and their experience. And I mean, that's awesome because our members know so much. Uh, we always like to say that, if you need something done, someone at Advent can probably do it. And we really love that about folks. But today, I'm going to be giving the member talk. So my name is Sam. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the member experience manager at Advent Coworking. So for folks at Advent who, know me, I'm a native Charlottean, family's from New York, moved down here in the 90s, just like all the other New Yorkers. But, I love Charlotte. It's a mess, and it's great. All my family's here, so I'm very fortunate to be around them and to be with close friends. And one of my passion projects is actually growing food. So I want to talk a little bit to you about just my experience growing food. And if anyone has any questions, just know that I'm not an expert. I'm maybe a teeny step above an amateur gardener, but I love talking about it. I love growing stuff. So I first started growing food in 2016 with a very good group of friends when we started the Angelo House Collective. And our goal was, one, an experiment about building long-term relationships and how deep relationships can help us build sustainable communities. And the importance of growing food, getting people reacquainted to the land when so many have been pushed off their land, have been removed from having access to fresh foods. And so combating that and, working for land justice, working for food justice, and bringing community together is just really important. But prior to 2016, I had never tried to keep a plant alive, except for this little, it's like one of those lucky bamboo that you find in the grocery store. My great aunt purchased one for me, I think in like 2015, and it's alive. It's doing great. It's thriving up in an east-facing window in my bathroom. So that's been really cool to see that grow. But I was really afraid to start growing food. It was very overwhelming because where do you start? There's so much information out there about how to grow food. There's so many books. There's all the tools you need, what have you, and it's like, where do I start? And everyone disagrees about their growing, process and all of that. And so I really let that feeling of being overwhelmed stop me from growing food. I'd help my friends in their garden spaces, but I just kind of resisted planting my own things. I felt like I needed to be more prepared. And looking back, that really held me back, it is a lesson in knowing that we all have the ability and the skills to learn and to receive what we need to thrive. And we have to embrace that, and so you just got to do it. So I remember the first plant that I grew. They were beans. I don't remember what kind of beans, but we, planted them in the ground at our community garden plot, and then they popped out of the ground, these little seedlings, which I know, like, that's supposed to be, that's what happens, right? That is the correct next step for the beans. But it was just, I was in awe, truly. It just amazed me every time I walked into the garden and saw them growing bigger and bigger. They overtook the plot, whole other story, but it was really awesome. I was like, oh my gosh, I put this little bean in the ground and now it's an actual plant. Now I'm eating beans. And it was so exciting, and it's still really exciting. And what I've learned is that growing food is an experiment. Truly an experiment. Sometimes you just buy a clove of garlic at the grocery store and you decide to put a bulb in the ground. Why not? And then it grows and you have a whole new clove of garlic, which is really awesome. So sometimes it's just kind of that simple. And gardening has just been really beneficial. I'm gonna actually walk over to some raised beds that we have here in our yard in just a moment. But it's been really good for my mental health to be able to start my day connected to the land and feeling the dirt and smelling the flowers and the plants. Talk to your plants. They need it. They love it. And it's just so cool to be able to grow food and then also to be able to share that food with my community. And that's really important to me. But gardening has also been a lesson in failures. I don't like the word failures because I think they're just learning moments. Because while sometimes putting garlic in the ground, it grows, sometimes you get bug infestations. Sometimes the weather is erratic. Thank you, climate change. And you lose plants. That actually happened to us. It's happened for many years. But we had a really bad experience this summer with some spaghetti squash that we planted. I don't know if y'all remember all these thunderstorms we had earlier in the summer, but it was just a week of really hard rain. And there was an underlying bug infestation that we hadn't realized. And so all that rain was causing the roots to rot a little. The soil was getting pushed off of it all. And the bugs really took over. And we actually lost, I think we had 4 or 5 spaghetti squashes growing. So they all just fell and it all died. So we didn't get any squash this summer. And so that was really disappointing. But it kind of, it kind of helps you deal with that disappointment in knowing that we can't control the weather. We can't control what grows or what doesn't grow. We as humans are fairly insignificant to the process of the earth and to growing. We ate it, we've moved it, right? We've helped to shape it, perhaps, right? But these plants, they learned how to grow, and the weather affects them. And so we can kind of hope and we do our best, and sometimes we lose stuff, but that's life. So I'm gonna walk over to my plot and, sorry, there's cars. So first thing walking by here, I'll see if y'all can see it. We have a bunch of flowers. So we love the pollinators, the bees, the wasps, even though they're terrifying, the moths, the butterflies. I actually borrowed a book from our library at Advent. I think it was one of the books that the Charlotte Readers podcast interviewed. It's about pollinators. Really cool. There's more than just bees out there. But yeah, we built some garden beds, and let me turn this around. So we have 3 garden beds here. They are built out of wood that I found in my dad's backyard that he was no longer using. You can see that it's all different wood, and I learned how to saw wood and how to build beds in that process, so that was really cool. But we have a few different things growing here. These are sweet potatoes. I love sweet potatoes, so they're definitely my favorite to eat, and I actually got these from a very good friend. I was dropping off some cucumbers to share, and they were like, do you want some sweet potatoes? And they just took a bunch of cuttings from their plant, which is another really cool part about like growing food and being a part of a group that grows food, right? Is that like we all know the importance of sharing our food, and you know, we want to see each other thrive. So I have all these sweet potato plants. Hopefully before the first frost we'll have some sweet potatoes to eat. And then we have some cayenne, which you can see back there. That one's looks ready. I'll probably pick it in the morning. There's definitely some different ideas on when to pick different foods, but usually when you're looking at foods that are growing above ground, and foods that, you know, rely on having more water in them, so your leafy greens, your little tomatoes and peppers, you really want to pick those in the morning. That's when they're kind of the fullest, have, you know, the most, I don't know, juice. That's the totally wrong word to use. But they're tasty, and it'll help them last longer as well. As opposed to, you know, our sweet potatoes, right, and any other root vegetable, you really want to actually pull those up at night. Now, this is something I'm just learning about, so I could totally be wrong. It's called biodynamic gardening, but it has the idea that, and y'all, I'm real into like astrology and all this stuff, so it has the idea that like the moon affects our plants, right? Which the moon moves the tide, right? And if we and our plants are made up of mostly water, then of course the moon affects these plants. And so when we think about the earth in, you know, in the morning it's exhaling, right? So all the liquids are going up, and then at night it's inhaling, so all the liquids are going down. And so at night, or like, you know, later evening, that's when your root vegetables are gonna be the most full of that good stuff, and all that. So next we have a tomatillo plant here. It is starting to die, just kind of end of the season, but tomatillos have been really cool to grow. I'd never grown them before, and we have had some bug friends get to them because I've kind of let them get a little out of control. Let me see, let me walk over here. And then this plant here, this is actually a hoscarea. Hey Josie, yes, they are tomatillos. I'm sure now. But these are hoscarea peppers. And so these peppers actually were traditionally grown in Aleppo, Syria. I'm trying to focus better. And so, you know, we've lost that place in the world. And there is a movement of folks, you know, trying to make sure that this pepper, right, isn't lost, right? Because we see so much land destruction, we see the environment being destroyed and culture being destroyed, right? And we lose a lot of foods that are, you know, traditional to a lot of folks. And so there's a movement to grow these hoscarea peppers. I actually got the seeds for this at a conference I attended this winter. It was the Jewish Farmers Network conference. So yes, there is a network of Jewish people who like to farm. Really cool. If you're interested, you know, let me know. Love to connect you. But yeah, like another thing, and I have no idea what time it is. Okay, no, we're still good on time. Awesome. Another thing that's been really cool is the community, you know, aspect of this all. And let me see, Josie. For real, Josie, that's real. Yeah, again, definitely important to have, foods of all different cultures. And I actually had a really good friend who's kind of living up north now, but they were saying that there's a community garden group that they're involved in. And it's actually immigrant and refugee families growing foods that they can't find in the grocery store here, which is really cool. And I actually volunteer with Our Bridge for Kids. They are an after-school program that works with K through 8 students, and really focus on, embracing your identity, embracing and loving your accent, and your culture, and just kind of dealing with the stress of going into an environment where you're, maybe you're learning English, maybe you're new to the country, like what have it, right? It's just a place to be supported and to be loved. But we're actually working on a new project to build a very large community garden. So I'm super excited about that. Please ask me questions. If you know how to start a community garden, please hit me up. I don't know what I'm doing. But thankfully, we have a ton of community folks, land justice folks, food justice folks, land workers, educators, all these different people who know what they're doing. And we all have things to learn and we all have things to teach. So that's great. Last thing over here, so now I'm in our backyard. And these don't look very pretty right now. But let me walk over here. So this bed I actually built a few years ago, and I use it just to plant flowers. So it's just a place for our pollinators. We have our bird seed out, and it's really pretty. It's also right next to a window, so my cat, Scorpion George, can look out and watch all of the wildlife whenever he's not able to come outside. But so we have these really beautiful yellow flowers, which are mostly dying now, but it's really cool. Their seed pods are drying up, and yeah, so I need to collect some of these so that I can grow them again next year. And then you'll see here we also have a bunch of fern, and I planted this, oh my gosh, Josie, do you remember when I planted this? Maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. It wasn't this past spring, but I thought that ferns were annuals, so that you would plant them one season and then, they'd be gone, right? So most of our vegetable plants are annuals. We have to plant them each season. They don't come back the next season. But this fern surprised me, and I think they're biannuals. So when it first grew, it was just the plant, right? And then this spring, it flowered. So most of the flowers have died now, but it flowered all these beautiful little white flowers, which we were not expecting. And so that's the way, when plants flower, that's their seeds, right? Like fruit, that's the seeds. So when you see your plants flowering and fruiting, it's them saying like, okay, cool, I'm gonna die soon. So I'm gonna drop all these seeds so that I can survive and grow again. And so that's our time to collect seeds, so that we can keep growing all of that. We also have some, herbs that we're growing, tons of rosemary. If you're at Advent and you ever want rosemary, if you want basil, or if you ever want some peppers, let me know. I've been bringing a lot of our produce to our next door neighbors. So, our next door neighbor Irma here, and some guys across the street as well. And it's been really great because it's been an opportunity to get to know our neighbors more, which is so important. And I think something, that we don't do enough as we're living in this more kind of like individualistic societies. We're not always connecting with those people who are closest to us, geographically speaking, or what have you. And so it's been cool. I made some salsa, some like spicy salsa, and I I brought that over to our neighbor, and then she gave us a cat calendar, which we love cats. So it was just kind of cool. It's kind of like, okay, we're like trading things now. Like we're like learning about each other and supporting each other. You know, we're giving what we have, right, and what we can give, and we're receiving what we need, because I 100% need a cat calendar, hands down. We need that. So yes, Josie, it is an amazing calendar. I don't remember the name of the group. I think they're maybe up in New Jersey, but they are a cat rescue place. That's a whole other talk I could give about rescuing cats, especially your neighborhood feral cats, and doing TNR, which is trap, neuter, and release. But that is a whole other conversation. But I really love growing food. And if folks have any questions, you know, right now, feel free to comment them. I will keep talking for a few minutes. Or also reach out to me. If you're a member, you know how to find me. My email address is sam@adventcoworking.com. You can check out our website, adventcoworking.com. And yeah, feel free to reach out. Ask me. I like gardening. I like cats. I like building community. And I really like connecting folks to each other. You know, again, like if there's something that you need, right, a service, support, reach out so we can help you connect to those folks, right? I know a lot of folks, and so, you know, want to help folks keep growing as people, keep growing your businesses. All right, Josie said, what made you want to make a garden? Yeah, so I touched on that just at the beginning. In 2016, a group of friends and I, Josie included, started a collective Angelou House, really as a way to build deep relationships, as a way to have long-term sustainable community, but also to focus on land and food justice. So that's what got me, you know, interested in starting to grow food. And then actually, Josie, I talked about our first beans that we grew. And that actually came about because one of our friends in the collective tricked me into getting a community garden plot. They told me that I was sending some money to the community garden person so that they could get another plot, and then it was my plot. So sometimes we have really great friends who see the push that we need to do the things that we want to do, you know, because we don't always motivate ourselves to those things, right? We need our community, we need our friends, we need our loved ones to support us in achieving those goals. I hope that answers your question, Josie. Now that I'm growing food, I just love doing it. I love getting to touch the earth and be in connection to it. It's really cool and delicious to eat the things that you grow. And it's really cool to share that again, like with your community. So again, if you're at Advent, let me know if you want some peppers. Please let me know if you want some basil. We don't cook that much with basil, but we have 2 plants. So that's something else to like think about as well, as, you know, when you're deciding what to grow, because I believe that everyone should grow something. It doesn't have to be something hard. You can, again, like literally take that bulb of garlic, put it in some dirt, you know, because like what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? It won't grow, right? That's the worst thing that'll happen. It won't grow. What's the best thing that can happen? You're gonna have a whole new clove of garlic that you don't pay for, that you just grew. So yeah, so I encourage everyone to grow stuff, and if you ever need some seeds or some help on getting started, also like reach out to me. Happy to help with that. But yeah, like first thing, like what do you like to eat? Grow those things. What ingredients do you use? If you don't use a lot of basil, don't get 2 basil plants. That's that. If you want more lavender, don't kill your lavender plant, which is, you know, what I did. But yeah, so I want to thank y'all for joining me today for our Advent member talk. Again, my name is Sam pronouns are they, them. I'm the member experience manager at Advent Co-working. And Advent Member Talks is a weekly event that we put on. Each week features a different member on the topic of their choosing. So yeah, next week we have Brittany. She is a life coach, so definitely join us for that. And the following week we have Lucas, our IT consultant, so tech genius. But thank you again for joining, and I hope you have a great evening.